Now the best of the action from the Australian Grand Prix.
Albert Park, Melbourne, the glorious setting for the opening Formula One Grand Prix of the new millennium. The Australian Grand Prix, the first of 17 races this season. Hello there, welcome to the highlights of this morning's race round Melbourne. Reliability is very much the key to this circuit. Only 8 cars managed to finish last year. At the age of 20, plus 53 days, Jenson Button became the youngest British Grand Prix driver of all time, while Mika Häkkinen set about winning that world title for the 3rd successive year. The qualifying session produced a familiar story. The Silver Arrows of McLaren setting the standard, Häkkinen beginning the season on pole.
He's done a seriously impressive job this afternoon.
David Coulthard was alongside his teammate on the front of the grid, but his high-speed spin brought the qualifying session to an abrupt halt. And that was enough to put paid to Michael Schumacher's last flying lap, but Ferrari's number 1 was in confident mood. As for Button, he had a tough qualifying hour, but still managed to get the Williams onto the starting grid. And so this is how they lined up, the McLarens 1 and 2 on the front row, Häkkinen and Coulthard. Then 2 Ferraris, Schumacher and Barrichello, exactly the same as last year here, by the way. Then the 2 Jordans, Frentzen and Trulli. Irvine in the Jaguar making their F1 debut. Villeneuve hunting the first points of BAR. Fisichella in the Benetton, Mika Salo making his debut for Sauber. Ralf Schumacher in the Williams. Pedro de la Rosa and Verstappen in the 2 Arrows. Wirtz in the Benetton. Heidfeld, another newcomer for the Prost. Zonta in the BAR. Lacey, very experienced in the second Prost. He had to start from the pit lane, by the way. Marc Genet in the Minardi. Deniz in the Sauber. Herbert having miserable luck in the Jaguar. And Jenson Button in the Williams having to start from the back row. OK, enjoy the very best of the Australian Grand Prix now with Martin Brundle and Murray Walker.
There are the 2 McLarens. World champion Mika Häkkinen driving through the heat haze. David Coulthard peels off behind him. Michael Schumacher pulls up behind Häkkinen. Barrichello behind David Coulthard. There are the 2 yellow Jordans in their new brighter livery.
Yes, Coulthard and Frentzen have lined themselves up at a slight angle to try to get over on that cleaner line as soon as possible. And Lacey patiently waiting in what must seem a very quiet pit lane.
Well, he was starting 17th on the grid. He's now effectively starting 22nd. A big penalty, not as bad as it might have been, though. And just look at the heat. It's about 40 degrees on the track down here.
Lights are on, the red lights are on.
3 lights, 4 lights, 5. It'll go out and it will be go in Australia. Lovely start by Mika Häkkinen. David Coulthard's going well. Schumacher is 3rd. And coming up very well is Harold Frentzen in the yellow Jordan. He's past Rubens Barrichello. Rubens Barrichello goes down a place, and it looks to me as though everybody is through the first sequence of corners. And Mika Häkkinen has got David Coulthard riding behind him. There is Rubens Barrichello. A terrific long jam of cars. Are they all going to get round this corner? Yes, they do. Round the Sports Centre corner. And so it is McLaren leading as it was last year. McLaren second as it was last year. Michael Schumacher is 3rd. Frentzen is 4th. Barrichello is 5th. Trulli is 6th. And in 7th position, well up, is Jacques Villeneuve in the BAR.
Yes, despite all of their practice and testing to get away, the Ferraris were both particularly tardy off the line. And fortunately, Michael Schumacher was able to stay ahead of the Jordans, but Rubens Barrichello dropping down to 5th place.
Well, I tell you, the Jenson Button is going through this field like a hot knife through butter. I saw the last 5 together, and he was not amongst them. Indeed, I believe he's up with his teammate Ralph Schumacher. We'll have to look down the field. He's up into 15th position. Jenson Button has moved up from 21st on the grid to 15th before the end of the first lap. Mika Häkkinen, there he is, from Finland in the McLaren. And now look, this is very different to last year. Last year, the two McLarens, Häkkinen and Coulthard, majestically strode away from Michael Schumacher. They're not doing it this time, but the first 3 are stretching away from the first Jordan. Lap 1 completed, look at the gap there. This is great stuff already, and we've got to have 58 laps of this. It's going to be a long, hard, tiring race. Hard on brakes. When are the fuel stops going to come? McLaren, Ferrari, Jordan, Ferrari. Marc Genet has gone into the pits already, and at the end of the first lap, Jenson Button is in 15th place. Behind Rubens Barrichello, Trulli is 6th, Villeneuve is 7th, Mika Salo is in 8th position. Eddie Irvine in the Jaguar has dropped down 2 places tonight.
And Herbert is out of the race. Johnny Herbert, who's had an appalling weekend, is already out of the race. He's at the end of the pit lane here, so he's past the white line, now in vision with you, and, well, no way they can recover that car. And this is why Johnny's out of the race. Look, he was minding his own business, going around the outside, and a Sauber and probably a BAR on the inside touch and just ran into him, has clearly damaged his car.
Well, you're watching now the Jordan followed by the Ferrari. It's Frentzen and Barrichello. Just behind them in 6th position is Jarno Trulli. Where is Johnny Herbert's teammate Eddie Irvine in the other Jaguar? He started 7th. He's been passed by both the arrows of Verstappen and De La Rosa and Mika Salo's Sauber and Villeneuve's BAR. So Eddie Irvine, the man who won this race for Ferrari last year, is down in 11th place. And Mika Häkkinen has now just made another fastest lap of the race. He's really flying. 1 minute 33.9.
Well, Barrichello's got a job on to pass that Jordan, which is not too slow in any part of this racetrack. Barrichello's got the faster car at the moment, that's clear to see. But has he got enough of an advantage? There really are so few places around here. The braking and turn-in areas are short and very high-speed turn-ins, for example, into this chicane, and doesn't offer any overtaking opportunities. That's a Lacey trying to make up ground, trying to overtake the Sauber, and clearly locks the rear wheels, probably on downshift as he headed into the apex with a bit too much speed. And that's put him probably straight to the rear again. Yeah,
his dander is well and truly up. He had made his way up from last to 18th. As we look at Jacques Villeneuve now, 7th position in the BAR, and right behind him is Mika Salo in the Sauber, the man who drove for Ferrari and BAR last year. Salo in the Sauber with the Ferrari engine, and Jacques Villeneuve will be looking not just for another finish, he didn't have many of those last year, but for BAR's first point, as Pedro de la Rosa and Verstappen have a look at Mika Salo. The new orange arrows are going magnificently with the Supertech engine. They've got a brand new chassis, they've got 2 very tidy drivers, and one of them, Pedro de la Rosa, you can see in 10th position, is swarming about all over Salo, and behind the second one, Jos Verstappen, is Eddie Irvine in the Jag.
Yes, and I'm expecting that arrows to be quick through the entire race. Looking at it, remember I said in qualifying yesterday, it's very supple at the rear. It seems like it rides the track and the bumps and the curbs, and I think that'll pay dividends if they're doing very long stints to keep the tyres better intact. Running quite wide there, Verstappen, but the arrows seeming to be confirming their winter season pace. Salo doing very well there in 8th place too in his first race for Sauber.
Lap 6 out of 58. There's the leader, Mika Häkkinen. You can see how far he is ahead of David Coulthard. Look now for the Ferrari of Michael Schumacher. It's about 2.8 seconds down the road as Häkkinen comes through to complete his 6th lap. Eddie Irvine has spun, and it looks as though both Jaguars are likely to be able to shove off, says Eddie Irvine to the marshal.
Well, the engine stalled, so Eddie's just trying to manoeuvre it, three-point turn it out of the way, and he wanted to decide which direction it was going in. So the safety car is standing by, we see from the computer here, but I think they'll clear that more than quickly.
Oh,
there's a wheel off there too, so whose wheel is that? Somebody else must have crashed in there too, you know, because Eddie Irvine had four wheels. Eddie Irvine had four wheels on his car. Look, there it is. So somebody else, not in our... Safety car is out. Safety car deployed, and we think it's De La Rosa has gone off into the wall.
Eddie, from the camera angles that we could see, it was a bit difficult to tell who collected who. Talk us through it.
No one collected anyone. De La Rosa just hit the wall and bounced out in the middle of the road. I lifted to slow down. The car just spun the minute I lifted, which is a handling thing we've been talking about.
Hakkinen leading, Coulthard second, Schumacher third, fourth is Frentzen in the yellow car, fifth is Barrichello in the Ferrari, sixth is Trulli in the second Jordan, seventh is Jacques Villeneuve in the BAR, eighth is Mika Salo in the Sauber, ninth is Fisichella, 10th is Ralf Schumacher, and the safety car is in, and the Australian Grand Prix again is go! Hakkinen, Coulthard, Schumacher, and the gap between them 1.4 seconds.
I can never understand that, why they don't bury the nose of their cars under the gearbox of the one in front, why they allow the restart to take place without being as close as possible to the car in front. I know you have to a certain extent react to when, for example, in this case, Hakkinen decides to pull away, but they don't, not like the IndyCar drivers where they really seem to maximise this opportunity to overtake. The F1 drivers seem quite happy to go in line astern.
As they are now, there's the McLaren leading, McLaren second, Ferrari third, Jordan fourth, Ferrari fifth, Jordan sixth. The top three rows on the grid are the top six cars in the race, albeit in a slightly different order, because Frentzen is ahead of Barrichello. And in seventh position there's Villeneuve, right behind him is Salo, right behind him Fisichella and Ralf Schumacher in the leading BMW Williams. That is in 10th position. Jenson Button, by the way, is 13th in the race. Lap 11 out of 58. Here they come.
Michael Schumacher very close to David Coulthard this time around, not close enough to have a stab in the braking area, but he's certainly giving David something to look at in his mirrors, and Schumacher making a better fist of this early part of this restart when, as I said, all the temperatures are down, and Hakkinen, as ever, scampering away.
And Barrichello challenging the Jordan in front of him of Heinz-Harald Frentzen. In comes David Coulthard. Now, this is a very, very early stop. Good heavens. Whatever strategy he's on, I wouldn't have expected a two-stop strategy to come in before another 8 laps.
I wonder if he's got a puncture. There was a lot of debris on the track from the De La Rosa accident. I've got a feeling it's a left rear puncture for David Coulthard. It looked a little bit out of shape, that tyre. Bit of a guess on my part there, but I can only assume it's a puncture from Coulthard.
Well, it must be that, and Coulthard, of course, is losing place after place after place, and Michael Schumacher has now only got one McLaren in front of him, and it is the McLaren of reigning world champion Mika Hakkinen.
Mechanics are having a look at something else at the back there. David's obviously reported in, hey, I've got a funny handling, and what are they doing now? They're working on some kind of inlet on the side pod there, so they normally put some kind of electrical umbilical cord in there. He's got a fire in there, look. He's got a fire. James, can you see anything?
Yeah, huge amount of smoke coming out, as you say, from the left side pod, trying to clear something. I think he may have picked up some debris. It may well just be moisture. Mechanic's happy. Car is on its way. It wasn't a fire. It was just a precaution. A little bit of a blast of the carbon fire extinguisher just to keep the underside of the floor cool.
And, of course, he is now very much last in the race. David Coulthard came in on lap 14 last year to retire with broken throttle assembly. Mika Hakkinen followed him later on during the race. And now Coulthard down last of all.
No, look, there's a lot of smoke coming out of there, Murray. Sorry to interrupt you, but a lot of smoke coming out of the back of Coulthard's car as he turned into that corner.
Oh,
yes,
yeah,
there it is.
That's it. David Coulthard out of the race. Well, it's a brand new Mercedes engine produced by Ilmor over the winter.
Oil pouring out from underneath. I saw fluid dripping out from underneath, so the oil in the water jackets have been mixed up in the middle there somewhere, and a fairly terminal engine failure for Coulthard. He's about as lucky as Johnny Herbert, isn't he?
Lap 13, Hakkinen leads Schumacher by just over 2 seconds. Frentzen is up into third place, challenged by Rubens Barrichello. There is the leader. Fifth is Jarno Trulli, he's moved up a place. In the points is Jacques Villeneuve in the VAR, followed by Mika Salo. Fisichella is 8th, Schumacher is 9th, Jenson Button is up into 12th position. Here is the newly liveried VAR of Ricardo Zonta from Brazil.
Hakkinen out, Murray. I think that's Hakkinen slowing.
Mika Hakkinen out of the race. Both McLarens, as they were in 1999, retiring, and Michael Schumacher goes into the lead, and it looks as though if he can keep going, he's in a very strong position to do well in Australia, which is something he has never done before. Mustn't get too excited about the situation, but a very, very unhappy race for McLaren, as it was last year. Last year they had the fastest car, but they had problem after problem through the season, and there's no doubt about the fact that it was reliability that cost them the Constructors' World Championship. Schumacher leads, the flags are flying, there is the proof. Schumacher leads the Australian Grand Prix. Hakkinen is out of it, Coulthard is out of it. Frentzen, as he was last year, is in second place, but behind a different Ferrari. Last year it was Eddie Irvine's car, this year it is that man's car, Michael Schumacher.
And another retirement now,
Pedro Diniz
in the Sauber, so that means we're going to be down to just 15 cars.
Only 8 finished last year. Mika Hakkinen adjusting his new hairstyle as he takes his helmet off. But Michael Schumacher, now with some 38 laps still to go, leads by a comfortable 17 seconds from Heinz-Harald Frentzen. Rubens Barrichello right behind Frentzen's Jordan. And I'm keeping an eye on Jenson Button for Britain, because he's now moved up into 11th position as a result of the disappearance of Mika Hakkinen. Just one place off the top 10.
Well, this is a curious lap from Barrichello. We just happened to go on board with him. He's done 2 green sections on the computer, his fastest 2 sections of the race so far, after 22 laps completed on their 23rd, coming towards the end of it now, and has suddenly zoomed right up to the back of Frentzen. Probably he's been told to pick the pace up a little bit.
Track temperature 34 degrees, it's going down, and Louise Goodman is with Ron Dennis, the boss of McLaren.
Ron, I understand both cars have gone out of the race with an engine-related problem. What can you tell me about that?
Yes, that's quite correct. They suffered exactly the same failure, which was a pneumatic failure in the valve gear, which is exactly the problem we had with 2 engines in qualifying yesterday, or practice in the morning. What's obviously frustrating is that, you know, we complete thousands of miles testing to avoid these sorts of problems at a Grand Prix, and probably some spec change has occurred between the last test and the preparation of these engines, which has caused these failures to occur. On the positive side, they're all exactly the same. It is a small failure, and as such it will be technically very difficult to resolve, but when you're dominating a race and already in a situation where you're conserving fuel and dropping the pace, it's very frustrating. I think it was a comfortable result, and makes it a little bit more difficult to accept.
Thanks for talking to us.
New fastest lap of the race for Michael Schumacher. Strangely, pole position was slightly slower this year, and that's unusual, but the race pace is faster. Michael's still pulling out over a second a lap on his pursuers, and he's lapping best part of 2.5 seconds a lap faster than, for example, the Williams, the Benetton, and the midfield group that are running from 5th through down to Jenson Button in 11th place. 2.5 seconds a lap faster. James is with Mika Hakkinen.
Mika, you were driving so well there. You must be incredibly disappointed.
Yes, extremely. I am very disappointed, but luckily we have still as much races to go like it was total last year, so I think I still have a pretty good chance to score some points this year.
Last year Ron said he'd like to lead this race. That's more important, even if you're retired. Do you still feel that way? Do you feel you have the edge over Ferrari from what you've seen this afternoon?
I think we are very competitive at the moment, very strong, and I'm happy with the speed of the car, but not happy to finish in the Grand Prix. And like you probably heard me yesterday saying, what is important here to come here and score some points. Top 6 for scoring points, I'm happy. That did not happen, so it doesn't feel very nice at the moment.
Thanks a lot, Mika.
Out of the race goes Jean Alesi, and the Ferrari mechanics are out, presumably to bring in Michael Schumacher, the race leader. I wouldn't think, Martin, that they're bringing Barrichello in and hoping there's going to be a change between him and Frentzen as a result of a quicker Ferrari pit stop.
Well, they may have left Michael slightly lighter at the beginning of the race to give him a chance to pass the McLarens and still stay on a one-stopper. Or they could be thinking of, is Schumacher coming in the pits now? They could have been thinking of trying to get Barrichello past Frentzen by stopping him very early. In fact, they might be better off stopping him very late. As James said at the beginning of the show, Jordan traditionally have a big fuel tank. James is down at the Ferrari pit. Michael, with the new speed limit here for this year, just 50 miles an hour. It seems an eternity. And of course, as the world champions, they're right at the far end of the pit lane.
80 kilometres an hour, it seems so slow in comparison with last year. Really is going to have a huge effect on the pit stops this year. A set of used tyres, scrub tyres we call them, going on. The teams have found that they go really, really well. 12.2 completely normal, one-stop fuel load, slightly slow, but hey, they don't need to rush these guys. Now, of course, Ross Brawn has got to think very hard about how he gets Rubens Barrichello in front of Frentzen, given that Frentzen is obviously going to run long on this first stint.
Well, Michael Schumacher is joined just in front of Jarno Trulli, which means to say that Frentzen leads. Barrichello is in second place.
Salo has pitted from 6th position. Presumably that was a regular pit stop, and that puts Jensen Button up into 10. Salo currently running 11, but I think it was a scheduled stop.
Now, I thought I saw Trulli emerging. It was one of the Minardis. The liveries of the Jordans and the Minardis are very similar this year. It's a much brighter yellow, as you can see for yourself, for Jordan, partly to defer to Deutsche Post, which is one of their new sponsors, and a large amount of money is being put into the Jordan team. You'll see the trumpets on there they are on the airbox. New sponsors all round, because as I said earlier on, there's a lot of high-tech money going into the teams, not the least of which is coming into the Arrows team from Orange.
Yes, Rubens will be ruining that poor start, won't he, on the 33rd lap of the race. And, well, look how much it's cost him. He's still tucked up behind Frentzen. But I have to say, not exactly carrying him around every corner either. So Rubens appears to be pacing himself slowly, but he needs to pick that pace up, because Michael in the sister car has been going significantly faster.
And as a result of the disappearance of Jean Alesi, Jensen Button in his first Grand Prix for BMW Williams is in 10th position. He is in the top 10. The Ferrari pit crew are getting ready again, and this time, of course, it will definitely be for Rubens Barrichello as Heinz-Harald Frentzen is coming up to the traffic. Salo in front of him.
Yes, unless Frentzen, that's a Sauber, I think, in front, but unless Frentzen gets badly held up in the traffic, then, in fact, it's a Prost, then this is not going to work for Barrichello. Michael's gone out, and he's lapping some 2.5 seconds slower now with that extra fuel load. So clearly, pitting early is not going to help Barrichello at all. He just needs to hope that Frentzen gets caught up in some traffic, but so few cars on the road this afternoon, that's unlikely to happen.
So we're riding with Rubens Barrichello from 3rd position. He made a brave try to get past Heinz-Harald Frentzen as they were lapping Nick Heidfeld in the frost, but comes up into the pit lane. Up on the jacks goes the Ferrari. Off come the old tyres and wheels, on go the new ones. Out comes the fuel filler. 9 seconds. Rather a slow start.
Yeah, it's a bit of a jerky getaway there for Rubens. He just seems so serene this weekend, almost too serene. He's been cruising around, happy to talk to anybody, and driving really beautifully, but a bit tardy away there, and that certainly won't give him a chance to slingshot Frentzen, although I'm looking to see what kind of traffic Frentzen does have in his view.
So there is Rubens. You can tell the difference between the two Ferraris, incidentally, by the yellow flashes on the extremities of the front wing and on the roll bar over the airbox, and you certainly need them. He's coming up to Jenson Button now. This is going to be interesting to see how the young Englishman in his first Grand Prix in the BMW Williams, it's their first Grand Prix together, copes with new boy at Ferrari, Rubens Barrichello. And Barrichello is in his 113th Grand Prix, despite his comparatively tender age of 27. Off goes the Jordan, and it's Jarno Trulli from third position. Now Button is actually running seventh at the moment, or he was. Now he's in sixth position. Jenson Button is in a position at the moment, and it's a long way still to go, to score a World Championship point in his first race. Jarno Trulli blows it in his first race for Jordan, disconsolately walks away from the car out of the gravel trap. Here it is.
I think it's going to be a mechanical failure, not a driving error though, Murray. Yeah, look, the engine's letting go and locking the rear wheels. You have to get the clutch buried very quickly, and then the hydraulic pressure fades away, and that's an oil fire at the back of the car there. As you know, it then quickly burns itself out, and in comes Frentzen for his stop. Frentzen from the lead of this Grand Prix. We're assuming now he was just 14 seconds ahead of Michael Schumacher, and it's about a 28-second total cost to come in the pit lane. So Michael Schumacher will regain the lead. The big story is, where will Barrichello end up? Will he end up in front of or behind Frentzen? My guess is behind. Let's see what sort of job Jordan can do there. Look, they've got a refuelling problem. Look, the refueler's not gone on yet. It's not even on at all, so this plays beautifully into Barrichello's hands, and they're still shaking their heads. They can't get the refueler started. It looks like it may be putting fuel in now. The car must be getting so hot sitting there. 23 seconds, so disastrous stop for the Jordan team.
Hear this! Lap 37. Michael Schumacher leads. Jacques Villeneuve is in second position. Ralf Schumacher in the BMW Williams is third. And Jenson Button is in fourth position. Incredible! Rubens Barrichello is in fifth place. Frentzen, there he is, fighting hard to recover what was the lead, and is now very, very much down the field for him. This race is getting red hot as into the pits comes Villeneuve. There is the proof in front of you, and I saw one of the BMWs coming in. There is Jenson Button coming in for his race stop.
That's the first ever pit stop of his career. So his Grand Prix career, of course. In fact, I think it's probably the first racing pit stop of his in career full stop, and a good one it was too for the Williams team on 11 seconds dead. Jenson over the white line now. He can press the button, get rid of the speed limiter, and accelerate towards the first corner.
New boots, take it easy, Jenson. Remember, the grip characteristics will be different in the car now from the older tyres that you just got rid of. But on lap 38, Michael Schumacher seems only to have to keep going to win the Australian Grand Prix for the first time. But I dare not make any promises. I hardly dare speculate, because, as I said, BMW, who are entirely new to Grand Prix racing since they left it so long ago when Nelson Piquet won with a Brabham BMW Turbo, but they're looking mighty good at the present moment as Ralf Schumacher follows his teammate Jenson Button in for a pit stop. He follows in from second position. Now that means that Barrichello will definitely move up into second place in the Ferrari. And we better just let this round of pit stops develop and the race calm down a bit, so that we can see exactly how everything has settled. Oh, there's a lot of problems. I was wondering if it was a heat problem. But it's not all that hot. 24 degrees air temperature. Ralf Schumacher, who finished third last year, going well, and we've got news from Louise Goodman.
Yeah, disastrous couple of laps for the Jordan team there. As you rightly surmised, Martin, that was an engine problem for Trulli. And then, of course, Frentzen, the refuelling problem, that was a stuck nozzle. That's obviously a serious blow to Hip's hopes of repeating last year's result, and when it was all going so well for the team. Bad news for Jordan.
Thank you, Louise. That 11-second stop for Jensen worked out just fine. It's actually put him ahead of Zonta, and particularly Salo. Salo must have had some kind of drama. So Jensen in 7th place. Ralf Schumacher, we haven't really seen. He's got to complete his outlap yet. I suspect that's going to put him down around 5th place.
Well, things have got to settle down, but quickly, here are the first 6 on lap 39. Schumacher leading Barrichello now. Ferrari first and second. Ralf Schumacher's been into the pits. Frentzen third, Villeneuve fourth, Fisichella in 5th position, and Jenson Button is in 6th place. Time for a break. Lap 41, 17 to go. Michael Schumacher has slowed down a lot. There is Frentzen. We think he is coming in to retire from the race. He slowed down so much. He's got a gearbox problem. That has been the Achilles heel of the Jordan car, this year's car, in testing, and it looks as though it struck again, if an Achilles heel can strike. Michael Schumacher, then Ferrari leads. Rubens Barrichello, Ferrari, 11 seconds behind him and speeding up to close the gap. Ralf Schumacher in the BMW Williams is 3rd, Villeneuve is 4th, Fisichella is 5th, and the second BMW Williams of Jenson Button is in the points in 6th place. Now let's ride with Barrichello and look at the master in the front, Michael Schumacher, at work for Ferrari, seemingly on his way to his 36th Grand Prix victory out of the 127 Grand Prix he will have driven in by the conclusion of this one. Now, Barrichello, new to Ferrari, if he finishes second to Michael Schumacher, he can be very proud of himself. As I said earlier on, I understand that there's been a sellout at Sao Paulo for the Brazilian Grand Prix in 2 weeks' time. If Rubens Barrichello goes there, not only as Brazil's first Ferrari driver, but second in his first race only to Michael Schumacher, and he goes into the lead. That is, wow! I was going to say I think they'll deify him. I think they certainly will now. Michael Schumacher must have a problem, because there was no hesitation then whatsoever.
No, hold on. He's got to stop again for gas. James was right.
Well
didn't put enough fuel in it. They've got to let Rubens get down the road. He's probably got a bit of a quick stop at the end, a quick flash of fuel, and that's the only reason I can put on it.
Well spotted, James. Thank you, Martin. But
we'll see if it's right.
That's certainly a dramatic development, whichever way you slice it. On lap 46 out of 58. Ferrari leads, Ferrari second, but not in the order we expected. Yeah, Ferrari, I've just heard, in fact I can see them out of the window, the massed cohorts of Ferrari, and it's Barrichello. I can see one of them carrying a board which has got Barrichello on it. So Rubino, as he is known not only in Brazil but everywhere else, and a very, very popular chap he is too, coming in for fuel. Now, Ralf Schumacher is 37 seconds behind him, so Barrichello will have plenty of time to take on a sort of splash and dash, come out into the track again in second position, and there he is coming into the pit lane. Are you there, James? No, he's not.
He's got a way to go yet. The white line going over now for the speed limiter, but well spotted there, James, on that short field. They obviously changed strategy halfway through the race to try and leapfrog him over Frentzen. He had a bad pit stop, but Frentzen had an even worse one. James is there now.
Yeah, I spoke to Rubens yesterday. I said, I bet you're looking forward to benefiting from one of those Ross Brawn race strategies. And he looked at me in the eye and he said, you betcha. Very, very short fill. 7.9, completely normal. Everybody here is absolutely as calm as you like. It was exactly part of the strategy to get Barrichello past Frentzen, and marvellous.
Well, Michael Schumacher has been saying all along prior to this race It is absolutely essential for us at Ferrari if we are to do well in the World Championship this year against a team as strong and as experienced and as successful as McLaren, with their driver partnership of Hakkinen and Coulthard, to get points early. We haven't done that in the past. We've suffered. We've caught McLaren in the latter parts of the season, but we need to be with them, if not ahead of them, at the beginning of the season. Well, at the present moment, on lap 47 with 11 to go, Ferrari are on a maximum 16 Constructors' Championship points. 10 for Schumacher, 6 for Barrichello, and of course, as out of the race goes Jenson Button. Well, that is whatever. But it looks to me as though it's not his fault. It's some sort of a problem. Look at the smoke from the back of the car. And he can say with enormous pride, that he was in the points for a lot of the race. There it is. There's the confirmation. You see, there is Villeneuve going through and Villeneuve behind him, Fisichella. That's how close it was, because there is Zonta going past Jenson Button as he parks the Williams and the rear wheels lock up. So definitely not Jenson's problem. I think there's a little hard work probably to do in Munich, unless in the very unlikely event of the gearbox locking up. Well done, Jenson Button. He can feel very, very proud of himself. BMW can feel very, very proud of themselves, because I don't think even in their wildest moments they would have expected to score points.
Did you catch a load of that, Murray? Schumacher well out of shape in the first corner. Unbelievable. He's just having fun, I think, but I bet he won't do that again next time around. Look, gets on the throttle and has to give it a full half a turn on the steering wheel, which is a lot in a Formula 1 car, to put it through. I think he's just bored, probably.
Well, I was saying that BMW can feel very proud of themselves to be in the points, and they are, because although Button is out, Schumacher, Ralph, is very much in. Not only is he in, but he's lapping marginally faster than Rubens Barrichello in front of him. Although I'm pretty sure that's because Barrichello, knowing that there is a 9-second cushion between them, will not be pushing as hard as he could.
Here's that scrap, Murray, look. This is Villeneuve, Fisichella. Salo has now passed Zonta. Salo is up into 6th place. And this is the scrap. Villeneuve, Fisichella, Salo, Zonta and Wirtz. And they're covered by just 2 and a little bit seconds.
And Villeneuve there is 4th. There's Fisichella 5th. Salo 6th. Zonta is in 7th position and Wirtz behind him in 8th place. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars as quickly as you can say. It's battling for 4th position. Wonderful scrap, and this is the 51st lap of a 58-lap race.
Yeah, I'd like to see a replay of how Salo made it past Zonta, actually. We haven't seen too much overtaking this afternoon. Be interesting to see where and how he was able to do it. Good performance from Salo today. As I said, I think he lost out in the pit stop somewhere, but he's getting it back up into the points. And at the moment, BIR look like they could be in for their first ever World Championship point. Here we go, look, we have got a replay. Salo taking a dive up, I think that's into turn 9. Good move there, made it stick, kept his line, and off he goes.
Now, Michael Schumacher out there in front for Ferrari. I said earlier on that he's had a great deal of bad luck, ill fortune in Australia. If he wins this one, it's not only going to be... Oh, and Zonta having a look. It's going to be Michael Schumacher's first race win in Australia if he wins. He's got 2 laps to go, each of 3.3 miles at the end of this one. He's on his 56th lap. But Michael Schumacher will be very, very happy with this. He's been enormously confident all the way up to the start of this race, all through testing and all through qualifying, even though he started 3rd behind the 2 McLarens. He said, I'm not the least bit bothered. This is a long race. 3rd is a good place to start. And it looks as though, as is usually the case when Michael says something, he was absolutely right. The flags are flying, and Michael Schumacher is coming through to win for the first time the Australian Grand Prix in wonderful style. A great sight. Schumacher wins. Fist out. Victory salute. And a euphoric Ferrari team greet him home and look down to see Rubens Barrichello. There he is. finishing in second place in his first race for Ferrari. Now, only 7 seconds further back, it should be Ralf Schumacher in the BMW Williams, and it is. Ralf Schumacher finishes third. A great finish for him and for the Williams team. But the man of the day, as we have seen so very often in the past, is the great double world champion Michael Schumacher, making a wonderful start for his attempt at a third world championship in the year 2000. Embraces his brother. Oh, there's never been two brothers like this in Formula One. We've had them in the past, of course, the Rodriguez brothers and various others, not all that many of them, but this is the most successful brother partnership of all time in Formula One. Well done, Michael, well done, Ferrari, well done, Ralf Schumacher and BMW Williams, and let us remember too, well done, Jenson Button.
And so back-to-back Ferrari wins in Australia, enjoyed by Melbourne's sizable Italian population. The Constructors' Champions have certainly hit the ground running this time.
You've got the good start that you didn't get the last 2 years. How do you see the season ahead now?
Exactly the right direction. I mean, that's what we needed to start off competitive, and now the season can go ahead.
Quick word on Rubens, fantastic drive by him today.
Yeah, no, great job, no doubt. That's what we wanted, to have a competitive teammate, and he certainly is. We got on very well, I have to say. We work very well together. We exchange a lot of information. So it's also, all in all, a very calm atmosphere.
What was the feeling like when you were stood on the podium?
Well, you know, I'm always delighted to be there. I'm always, for sure, people in Brazil are happy because everything is happening. But I mean, inside myself, I think I did a good job. I was almost on the pole position this time, and I was almost on the first place this time. So who knows, Brazil is coming.
I was able to go very fast during the race. I was, I'd say, pushing onto the McLarens. They had a better start, as usual. That's something we need to work on. But I'm very optimistic. We are there, and we need another little steps, and then we will look a little bit more comfortable.
Special moment on the podium there with you and Michael, I could tell.
Well, it was. It's actually always a very special moment, but today, you know, it was particularly special because I think, you know, first race for a new manufacturer, being third is a great moment.
Shaq, what a brilliant way to start the season.
Oh, it feels great. Mostly after all the hard work of last year, and finally get a result is a good thing.
What difference is it going to make to the team?
Well, it's good. It brings a lot of good energy to the team. The team has worked very hard, and finally we got a result, so now we can push forward.
Your thoughts on Jenson's performance today?
Jenson did a very good race. I mean, I have to say, I have to make him a compliment. He did a good weekend. I mean, he crashed yesterday morning, what is a very normal thing that happens sometimes. But today he did great, and I mean, he was in the points when he stopped, so he could finish in a fantastic position too.
How different was the whole experience of a Formula One race for you, Jenson?
It's obviously very different. Long races to start with. A 58-lap race is very long compared to what I'm used to. It's about 20 laps in Formula 3, so it's quite a big difference. Also the competition. This is the best drivers in the world I'm racing against now, and it's great to be here.
Physically, did you feel it in the later stages? Very, very hot out there, very demanding?
Yeah, just after the just before the pit stop, so I started getting a bit tired, but after the pit stop I was raring to go again. I don't know what, maybe I had an extra booster or something, but coming out the pits and being in sixth definitely helps.
I tell you, it's really good to have you with us. It's really good to have you throughout the season. Thanks for joining us now. And so Michael Schumacher and Rubens Barrichello collect all 16 points for Ferrari. Ralf Schumacher gets 4 for Williams. Villeneuve at last scoring for BAR. Then Fisichella and Zonta promoted to 6 on the back of Salo's belated disqualification for a faulty front wing. Martin Brundle's joining us. We saw the first Formula One drive for Jenson Button. You were very unsure about whether he should be here at all. Have you changed your mind?
The season's yet young, of course. There's a lot of things to happen, but it was a tremendous performance, a good start, excellent start in fact. Kept it on the road. He was dicing with some old hands. His lap times were very, very consistent through the race, and I wondered if he might tire, might fade a little bit. Jenson said later that he was feeling a bit fatigued just before the pit stop, but when he came out after this stop, which was very quick in 11 seconds...
His first ever pit stop.
His first ever pit stop in a motor race. Got away well, look. And next time round, they're showing him P6, and that gave him a second wind.
Tony, he seems to have handled the whole Formula One circus like a veteran.
Yeah, he has, and I mean, I can't think of anyone other than Alain Prost, when I was working for McLaren, who came from F3 after we'd selected him, went straight into his first race and got 6th place, which of course what Jensen was heading to. And he'd had literally no experience whatsoever, other than this man on the right, who also did a great job jumping from F3 to F1. I think he's got it. As Martin says, the jury's out because there's a long way to go. But let's hope for his sake and for Britain and for the younger drivers who are waiting for him to blaze a path for them, that he makes it.
So we give Jensen a tick, shall we, Martin? Let's look at the start. It looks as though McLaren's have got a big stick there. They look a big tick, I should say. They look to be away and gone.
Yeah, the McLaren's a perfect getaway there from both of them, and Coulthard even thinking having a look up the inside of Hakkinen, but the Ferrari's very tardy away, giving one of the Jordans, Frentzen, a chance to split them, and that would cost Barrichello a lot of time. A little bit of a touch going on at the back end, but pretty solid driving from all those in the field, actually.
Now, when the big cat came out of the bag, which a big blaze of glory, wasn't it? But they sort of whimpered away with the tail between the legs here, Jaguar.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame again, and we have to remember that it's a repainted Stewart team, and they have had these huge problems. But Johnny Herbert, and Martin said it in the commentary, unfortunately, it's the same old luck for him again, and he almost has the secondary Australian jinx. That was Deniz who pushed him out there, and then someone had pushed into him. But, you know, he got thrown off into the sand in 97, him and Villeneuve, and this was Irvine also spinning out in avoidance of Pedro de la Rosa, who'd gone up earlier off there. A suspicion, maybe some sort of a failure on the arrows. We don't know, we'll have to wait and see.
Let's go back and talk about McLaren's, Martin. Amazing. Again, they leave this place nil point.
I know Ron Dennis said to me before the race that he felt sure they'd fixed the problem they had on Saturday morning when both cars failed with engine dramas. They thought it was something to do with a transit problem as they were coming over from the UK to Australia, and he felt it wouldn't be repeated. But as we saw, both of them puffing smoke out of the back as they departed from the race, looking very sick, and as you say, absolutely no points, and they didn't seem to have their clear performance advantage that they've had in the last couple of seasons going into the first race.
And the Jordans as well, so much expected from Jordan this season, especially after the way they went last time around, and they had a pretty miserable old time, Tony.
Well, they got the strength and the continuity with the Mugen Honda engine, the same staff and team, and Jarno Trulli, the poor lad here, was in a firm third position, and then off he goes out like that. Look at the flames coming out of the back. That a bit of a shock. They have had gearbox problems during testing. Now, this is Heinz-Harald Frentzen. It was after the pit stop. Schumacher had already come in. Heinz-Harald Frentzen had a 14-second lead. He came in. Now, this was the refueling problem, having to put the nozzle back on and off. Something had jammed in there, and that'll rekindle this debate about the decoupling under flow, that is, with the fuel still in the hose, and then yanking it off, which is what Ferrari did last year to make refueling quicker. It could jam. Lots of people say it's dangerous.
Final word from you, Martin. Sum up the Australian Grand Prix.
Well, reliability was a huge issue. Ferrari looking strong in every way. Michael Schumacher looking peerless, it has to be said. I thought there were some very solid drives through the field. I think we had one or two strange runners in the top 6 at the end. Maybe they won't have quite such a luxury, I think, as Jordan and McLaren particularly, and Jaguar get their act together.
Martin, Tony, thanks very much. ITV2, Monday night, a repeat of this highlights programme at 8 o'clock. And a couple of weeks' time we go to Brazil, stand by for Rubinho fever there. Lots of support for Barrichello, qualifying live 3:30 on the Saturday afternoon, and the race, our coverage starting from 5:20 on the Sunday, highlights at 11:50. And so Michael Schumacher is a winner at last in Australia, and so is Jenson Button, thrown in at the deep end, down under, but emerging in great style. Good night to you all.
of the race. Mika Häkkinen out of the race. Schumacher wins.
F1 on ITV in association with Texaco.
If you would like to know more about Formula One, the website address sponsored by Sutton Motorsport Images is www.itv-f1.com.
And you may like to know that the official ITV Formula One Grand Prix guide is now available, price £9.99 in bookshops.